What's going on, y'all? This is Josh from Team Super Shoe, and welcome back. Episode number 6 of The Shoe Show. We are not talking about checkered pattern Vans. No, we're talking about the one and only Corey LaJoie and just anything NASCAR related. Super excited to have you guys here. This is episode 6, which means it's been 6 months. You guys have been hanging out with us for half of a year. So I apologize, and I thank you for your friendship, and thank you for hanging out with us here, and thank you for hanging out with us on Facebook. If you guys don't follow us, please come hang out with us on Facebook. It's a group called Team Super Shoe, where it's all started, and we have plenty more conversations than just the YouTube show here. We have a pretty cool show stacked up for you guys. We have our buddies Mike and Jason. They're going to come and talk to us about the races coming up. We got races such as the Worldwide Technology Raceway. It's a brand new racetrack for Cup. We also have the All-Star Race at Texas. We also have the Coke 600, and we also are going to be hearing who is going to be on the hood of the number 7 car for the All-Star Race. Now, Mr. Bostic is going to be introducing it, so I'm not sure if I'm excited or if I'm a little nervous. I know I'm a little nervous, but either way, you guys are going to enjoy it. It's going to be a good time. We also got our buddy Sean Borger. He is going to be our guest for the show today. He has some pretty cool stories to tell us about meeting Corey LaJoie, about what Corey did for him, and how he kind of became a little internet famous in the racing realm, at least for a short time. And he has such a cool and unique experience, and kind of want to just ask him about it and get his take on it. And finally, we have the member of the month. It's going to be our buddy Alex Morgan. He has been a long time Corey LaJoie fan and supporter, and been on Team Super Shoe. And he has another kind of similar story. And it's really cool to see these guys and their stories of Corey reaching out, and it's these reasons why we continue to show support for Corey LaJoie, not just his racing, but his personality. He's just a down-to-earth great dude. So, but first up, let's go ahead and dial up our buddies Jason and Mike and get them on the show. Let's chat a little bit. All right, guys, we are back, and we are with our good friends Jason and Mike. How you guys doing?
Doing good. Good. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
Can't complain at all, man. Life is good. Life is good.
Nice. How's Charlotte doing, Mike?
Growing like a weed. She's up to probably 3 to 4 ounces at a time with each feeding and whatnot, which is crazy to believe at only a month old. But yeah, she's doing good, man. No complaints there. She's beautiful.
Nice. All right. Well, I brought you guys on just to talk about the upcoming races. One of which is going to be the All-Star Race at Texas. I wanted to know, is it good? Is it bad? Do you think that Texas should be the All-Star Race every year?
I'll go first. I mean, to me, I think the All-Star Race should move around a little bit, because obviously you're going to have drivers that excel at certain tracks. So if someone comes in and happens to be really good at Texas, then they're going to be a favorite for the All-Star Race. So to me, I think they should move that around a little bit more, and maybe even throw a road course in there. I'm not sure, but I definitely think it should be moved around. Maybe not every year, but every 2 to 3 years. And I think that would keep it a little bit more on an even playing field.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I would like to see some kind of rotating schedule on it. Like you said, the way it kind of keeps everything fresh, right? And if somebody figures out the 1.5 mile package really well, and that's all they ever do is race on 1.5 miles, then it just doesn't really make for the best recipe. I just want to say I'm definitely one of those fans that if North Wilkesboro comes back, I feel like that's a prime candidate if we ever bring Cup Series racing back there, just an exhibition all-star race. I think that'd be awesome. And wouldn't be against seeing it at somewhere like Martinsville too, especially since that place has lights now. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you guys have a specific track or like say if you were able to pick, let's say the 2023 all-star race, where would you be sending it? Do you have any race stipulations? Do you have any type of dream race like that?
I don't really have a dream or what would be perfect. I mean, to be honest with you, I really like to see it at Charlotte. I think obviously that's a home track for most guys and most teams. So, that's an easier weekend from them. They get to maybe spend their nights at home in a bed with their family and stuff like that. So I think that might be, to me, if I got to pick a track, I would say their home track, and they get to sleep in their own beds, have dinner with their families, and do that type of stuff. I know that's a big thing to them. So that'd probably be something that I would push for.
As far as an active track, it's probably Martinsville for me. I like the idea of, like you said, Jason, keeping it where the history and heritage is, where the Winston was born at and whatnot. But since they haven't raced it in Charlotte for a couple of years, I would definitely like to see it somewhere like Martinsville. That'd be cool.
Since this year and the new Atlanta, I loved that race so much that that's where I would like to see it. If it weren't there, I would think even since they took away the Bud Shootout or the Clash or whatever you call it now, they took it away from Daytona, maybe they'd visit there. But I really enjoyed Atlanta, and I think that it'd be cool to see even more races there and maybe do like heat races and, qualifying races. That makes things more exciting and makes people desperate. So which makes for some good TV. You guys have any like favorite memories from the All-Star races from any of the tracks from Charlotte or wherever?
Not really. I mean, not one pops into my mind there. And that's why I said you guys are probably a little bit better than that than everything. But yeah, I don't have one specific memory that just really jumps out to me with those races. So, I enjoy watching them because, they're non-points, and it's generally the checkers or wreckers attitude is in play a lot more. Obviously, you don't want to go out and tear your stuff up, but you might be making moves that you normally don't. So I just kind of enjoy the race with the fact that it's that's the mentality of it is, what if I go out and if I finish second or 34th, it's not going to affect my points. I may cost the team a couple bucks by tearing up a race car, but I did it by going for the win.
That's right. My personal favorite, without a doubt, is probably the 97 Winston, whenever Jeff Gordon and Ray Evernham showed up with the T-Rex and did it was like the Jurassic Park, the ride car. And like to hear the commentators in the booth, I think it was like, I don't know, maybe Benny Parsons or somebody, but like that car is just on a rail. And that guy was able to run in places that nobody else could that night. And the car was so good, indeed, NASCAR told him to never bring it back. So it was kind of crazy to see some of the documentaries, the mini documentaries that have came out since then about that car and exactly how they kind of towed the edge of the rule book and whatnot. And it was, as a Jeff Gordon fan, it was awesome for me. For anybody else that didn't like Jeff Gordon, that was some BS to those people, I'm sure.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty cool too. And I mean, granted, it's coming from an ex-Jimmy Johnson fan, but I've always believed if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. So, when we went to Daytona last year and Corey failed inspection, I thought, man, this is great. This is great. That means he has a fast car. I mean, you ain't toting the line, then, you're just in the wayside. So I say kudos to Jeff Gordon in the T-Rex car. It's a classic. So, and not to discredit by Texas by any means. Texas, I had to kind of go and research what they have, the memories and just things that I remember. Man, that was pretty cool. And Texas, that was the home of Junior's first Cup win. You had that time when Kyle Busch wrecked Hornaday in the Truck Series, and that got banned, and he got kicked out for I can't remember how long, a month or whatever it was. That was pretty entertaining and horrible. I don't think that was like the epitome of Kyle Busch. And the Jeff Gordon fights. You had two Gordon fights at Texas. You had the one with Jeff Burton, where I think it was in the backstretch, and then the Keselowski thing with Harvick and that big old brawl. So not that that's really a racetrack related thing that we need to look forward to. But it's memories, and we don't get a whole lot of that drama anymore. And nowadays they just go and they just talk bad about each other on Twitter. So a little more boys and less men out there. So
boys be boys.
Yeah. So the Cup series is going to be going to a new track this month. It's going to be the Worldwide Technology Raceway. It's not new by any means. Trucks, IndyCar, they've all been visiting it for a while, but it's new to Cup, and wanted to know what you guys are anticipating with it. I had to look it up because honestly, I've never paid attention to the racetrack. I might have watched it a few times on IndyCar, but IndyCar is never really, to me, it's never really, they're exciting on road courses, and they're the opposite of NASCAR. They're not too exciting on ovals, in my opinion. But the turns, so turns 1 and 2 is only 11 degrees. Turns 3 and 4 is only 9 degrees. It's only a 1.25 mile racetrack. And it's kind of like a strange Martinsville where 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 is very narrow. And then the opposite is a lot wider. But it's definitely a flat track. And wanted to see if you guys are excited for that. Do you think it's going to be good racing, or is this going to be a snoozer?
Well, I think I much like you, when we talked about what we want to talk about today, I said, hey man, I need to go check out this website, check out the track. So I had to do a lot of research on my own, and the first thing that stood out to me is how different turns 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 are. To me, that's exciting because you can't set up your car for both of those turns. You're gonna have to set it up for 1 and 2, you're gonna have to set it up for 3 and 4, or you're gonna have to set it up somewhere in the middle and probably struggle a little bit. So that excites me. It seems like they're almost just hairpin turns and then longer straightaways, which I think is pretty interesting. My concern is the minimal banking, more of a flat track. I think that's when we get to the if you're not on the inside, you're kind of screwed. So that's my only concern. I love the fact that the turns are different, but I'm hoping that there can be an outside groove there, because if there's not speed on the outside to help carry those guys through there, then hopefully it's not just a train ride. But, like I said, anytime it's a new track, it's exciting. I love the fact that it's not just a cookie cutter mile and a quarter or something like that. It's done a little bit different. So, we'll hope for the best. And I said my concern would be the minimal banking, and hopefully there's an outside lane there that these guys can use.
And so to that point, with it probably being a predominantly, single lane racetrack, do you think NASCAR brings like that VHT, the track compound or whatever they call it? I can't remember, but they rubber up the corners. I wonder if they'll do something like that to maybe kind of bring in that, second lane or so, maybe a little quicker. That's something I'm definitely worried about. Is it seems like at a lot of these other flat racetracks, if they can't find a way to get the car to roll through the center of the corner, everybody's just fighting a tight handling condition. It doesn't really make for the best side by side and excitement, I guess you would say. So I'm a little worried about that. But at the same time, I don't want to be too skeptical. Because it is a brand new racetrack. Let's at least get there and see what they bring to the table. And then maybe I'll have a little bit better opinion when it's all said and done. I hope for the best. I just don't necessarily expect it.
Yeah. All right. Well, on to another race that we can look forward to. There's a lot of interesting and cool races coming up this month. It's the Coke 600. So I wanted to know y'all's opinion. Do you think that this still should be a thing? Should it still be a staple in NASCAR? Because it's one of the, I don't know what you would call it, the pinnacle or staple. It's one of the top races when you got the 500, you got the Brickyard, and that's just one that's always mentioned. And I bring that up because last year, Larson beat Elliott by over 10 seconds. He won every stage. And now, granted, nothing against, Larson's just an incredible talent. But last year's race was 4 hours. There was 14 cars on the lead lap at the end of the race. They only had four cautions. And I've always, I think it's a track or a race that maybe more the NASCAR drivers themselves as athletes would appreciate more than the fans, because it's long, but it gives them it's an achievement to win such a long endurance race. wanted to know what you guys thought about it and if we should still be racing 600 miles.
I think so, yeah, because we do it once a year. That's it. I know it's physically taxing, draining, everything on these guys. Like 4 hours, added hydration, added water, this and that. So, I mean, yeah, it's once a year. So absolutely we need to do it. I think it's a good thing. But, it is a lot. And, I think last year was a bit of an anomaly. I think if we went out and did 3 years in a row where Kyle Larson smokes the field by 10, 12 seconds, well, then maybe we need to change it up and look at something different. Or other people need to look at their game plan coming in, their setups, and say, okay, what are we doing so different that, that he can come in and do that? So, I mean, to me, I think we'd have to see some type of repetition in terms of, that type of domination. And I mean, let's face it, when's the last time that happened? Does it happen all the time? No, it's pretty rare. So, and I think it was pretty cool to see, man. They came in and they were firing on all cylinders the entire race. They did not miss one beat. And, the lack of cautions definitely helped them out. I don't think that's going to happen all the time as well. But yeah, I got no issues with it. Like I said, they know what's coming into it. These guys know they gotta train, they gotta work on their cardio, they gotta stay hydrated, they gotta do this stuff. It's not like they have to do that week after week after week. They do it once a year. Let's step up and do it. Give it to the fans.
How do you follow that up? You pretty much said exactly.
I got it, Mike. I got you.
That's no, that's good. I'm exactly with that, man. It's one time a year. The World 600 or the Coca-Cola 600, it was made to be a race for endurance. It was to show the best of the best, who could last the longest, who could manage their equipment. And I don't necessarily know what the track surface looks like now. I know Charlotte's been repaved probably in the last decade or so, but I'm hoping maybe that there's some decent tire degradation there, and then maybe we kind of see a little more excitement when we get into these long strung out green flag runs where, the tires start falling off. These guys are a lot more sideways off of, 2 and 4, and, maybe guys are fighting their entry, whatever. I understand it's not a race that typically breeds a ton of cautions where there's a lot of restarts and, all this stuff, but I just like it for the tradition that it is. And I think it's good that we stay at 600 miles there. However, I think it's good that NASCAR has looked at places like Pocono and shorten those from 500 miles down to 400 miles, or I think Dover even was reduced, I guess, several years ago. It used to be a 500 lap race, and it's only 400 now. So, as I think for the Coke 600 in general, it's got to stay 600 miles, or it's no longer a crown jewel, right?
Right. Yeah.
Do you guys have any memories from the 600? Anything that sticks out as one of your favorite moments in NASCAR?
I'm going to go back. I mean, to me, if we're going to look at, kind of focus on Corey and stuff like that, but it's going to be back at 2019. I know you have your notes here where he's finished the last 4 years, and, that 12 has to jump out to you. But the one thing to note about him finishing 12th in 2019, it was Go Fast Racing, underfunded team, not the equipment was not up to the quality of everybody else. And that 12th place, geez, that's hard to say, 12th place finish wasn't a fuel strategy. It wasn't a tire strategy. It was Corey getting up on the wheel and, making the best of a good car and some good calls and a good pit stops and, everything like that. So there really wasn't a strategy driven, hey, we got rain coming, let's stay out, or, let's short pit and try to catch a fuel mile. There was no strategy there. It was just Corey up on the wheel doing what he needed to do. And that, and that gives him a boost of confidence as well. So that's kind of where I'm at with that.
For sure. Definitely a good run for all the Kenny stackers out there that day. My personal favorite, again, growing up a Jeff Gordon fan, was 1994. It was his first career victory. And so, I mean, that was cool just to kind of see the beginning of the kind of the dynasty that team would later become. And I don't know. It seems like maybe there was one other race. I think like 97 and 98 and 99 when he won them all again. I'm pretty sure those years are right. So Gordon, he just used to clean house at the Coke 600. And it was always a race that me and my dad could sit down and be like, yeah, top 5 tonight for sure. This will be a good one.
Easy money.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure was nice when Jeff was winning before Jimmy started his career. So that was my favorite moment. I mean, honestly, so I bring it up because it's a race that I always kind of dread. And not that it's not a good accomplishment to have, but just as a fan, 600 miles is a long race. I mean, 500 miles is long, and it's a very long, stretched out, drawn out race. Almost every year. Jimmy did win it, where he beat Bobby Labonte and like on the last lap at the last turn. So that was exciting, but yeah, and what you're talking about with Corey, his last 4 years, since 2019, so the last 4 races at Charlotte, he's had 12th place, 23rd, and 2 19th places. So hoping for bigger and better things for Corey, So Darlington's coming up as well. And Darlington was something that, it was definitely a surprise for me last year, and us seeing him finish 15th, and he was like 10th the whole time. But I ended up looking him up, and his average finish of his career there, even with the real low end teams, is 27.5. He finished, like I said, he finished 15th last year, and he got a stage finish of 10th, and he got shouted out several times by Dale Jr. and Mark Martin, and it was just a cool thing to see. And the past 2 races with Spire, so last year, he was +8 and +10 on where he started versus where he finished. So I think it's a good race for him, and that he's a wheelman, and that he likes to get up there and not so much aero, more of getting those good runs and being a little rough if you have to. And so wanted to see what you guys think. Are we going to have another 15th place at Darlington this year?
I think so. I mean, I think, I've never really talked specifically with Corey about this, but there's no doubt in my mind this is one of his favorite tracks. I mean, whenever you listen to an interview, you hear Corey talk about Darlington, it's just the tone of his voice is different. There's something in him that when you mention, or not Darling, or yeah, Darling, when you mention that, it just, you can tell that there's something inside him that he wants to go there. And I do believe you've heard the Logano story, the interview. Yeah, it's literally, it is probably one of my favorite interviews of all time, to hear him tell that story. And it just, but you can just, even listening to that, when he talks about that story, you can hear the passion in his voice about what he has for that facility, the respect he has for that facility, the tradition, the heritage, everything from NASCAR with that track. He enjoys it, he respects it, and I think most of all, he looks forward to it. So I think, you try to go into every race as best you can with the most positive mindset here and there, but I think without a doubt, he goes into that track excited, amped up, and ready for and confident in a good finish. So hopefully we can keep that going.
I definitely agree with the same thing. And so when Corey came by and hung out with us on the shoe show a couple of months back, he shared with us that I guess like back in maybe 96 or 97, when his dad was driving the Fina car, he said that he can remember when the race was over, standing down on pit road and seeing all the cars just sandblasted and smelling the gear oil and the burnt, motor oil and tires and so on and so forth. And he's like, I remember standing there and, it clicked for me like, oh, this shit's pretty cool, right. And that was his words, verbatim, I quote. But that's pretty cool to see that's the track where his, I guess, love for racing was maybe born at, or maybe realized at that day. And so I hope that he kind of keeps that same fire and energy alive whenever he, goes to that track, and hopefully we put it all together. Like, how awesome would it be for him to get his first career win there? And I'm not saying that I think that we've got a mile-and-a-half package that's going to put him there, but how cool would it be maybe in his shoes? Like, this is the first race that I can really remember, and now it's the first win of my professional career. That would be pretty awesome, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, well, Mike, me and Jason heard you brought something exciting to the shoe show. New sponsor coming up, or what's going on with it?
Yeah, man. So we've had to keep this under a blanket and wrapped up tight for a little while now. But so coming to the All-Star race at Texas, we're debuting a new sponsor on the hood of the car. And guys, it is without a doubt the coolest thing you've ever seen in your life. If you've watched episode 3 with Corey LaJoy, you'll understand why this sponsor is on the hood of the car. Josh, roll that beautiful footage.
All right.
Matt Kenseth had Crown Royal. Dale Earnhardt Jr. has High Rock Vodka. And now, the soul refreshing taste of 90% isopropyl rubbing alcohol can be found on the hood of Corey LaJoy's number 7, Canadian Mist. It's like paint lacquer.
Y'all boys are probably half drunk by now.
We are.
What are y'all drinking?
But I'm on a budget this week, so I'm drinking some Canadian Mist because I can't Crown Royal.
All right, not a bad one. Love that. I mean, that's like the Bud Light of whiskey, man. That's okay, you know. We gotta build our way up. It's Canadian Mist will get you buzzed like the same thing Woodford. But
Enjoyed by the penny stacker himself, you too can enjoy the brand that requires very minimal stacks of pennies to purchase. Because after all, this is the Bud Light of whiskey. Guarantees a hangover, but also guarantees the ability to forget life's hardships, like when your crew chief gets suspended. We need 7 shots on deck. Canadian Mist. Coming next week will be Tylenol, the brand most trusted to take care of headaches, caused primarily from Canadian Mist. Schluter Systems will return to the car soon, and you'll be glad they did, because after one hard night of Canadian Mist, you'll be wishing you had some bathroom remodeling products. But for now, let's welcome some bottom of the barrel rock gut onto the car. Guaranteed to feel this in the morning.
And so what do you guys think? Like that's the best drink ever, right? Like that's a good sponsor, right? Like I'm pumped. You're not?
I'm very. I'm speechless. You're successful in making me speechless. That was awesome. I like it. The effort.
You know, it's been tough to root the 7 on, and Mike, I don't know if you're making it easier, but either way, let's just move on with the show. So next up, we got our guest of the show. He's a big fan. He has some pretty cool stories. We're going to talk to our buddy, Sean Borger. All right, y'all, we are back, and we're here with our guest of the show, Sean Borger. Sean, how you doing, man?
Doing great. How you guys doing today?
Doing good. No complaints here for sure.
That's good.
Nice, man. So we kind of caught up with you because you've had an interesting story. But before we get to that, we just kind of want to talk to you and get to know you, man. So where you're from, what do you do, and how'd you become a Corey LaJoy fan?
Well, I'm located in Lake Wiley, South Carolina. Moved here about 8 years ago. Was in the military before that. Originally from the north, Wisconsin. Moved to Florida when I was younger. Been all around the world, literally, with the military. Decided to get out. My parents lived here. So when it came to deciding where we wanted to live, why not move near the parents and in the heart of racing country? And it's beautiful here. We absolutely love it and wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
Nice, man. So I know that you've been kind of doing model creation. Like, is that your hobby? Like, what's that about?
Oh, well, yeah, models has been a way of life for me. I started when I was extremely young. My grandfather actually built models in the 50s, 60s, 70s, still does it today. In fact, he did model magazines doing cars and airplanes. He's one of the most well-known model builders in the world, to be honest with you. His name is Hank Borger. But I learned it from him. I learned it from my father, and it's something that I enjoy doing after a long day of work. Sit down, I call it putzing with my models. Just sit down and work on the engine today, or work on the roll cage, or just something to, relax me and settle me down for the night. And it's a lot of fun. I enjoy doing it.
Nice, man. And I've noticed you put a ton of detail. Like, do you do mainly race cars, or do you do all sorts of stuff?
Just lately, I've been doing race cars. I've actually done a bunch of race cars over the last couple of years. I enjoy doing it for my friends. All of my friends have gotten a model built by me. I've done models for Dale Jr. I built his last car he drove. I built one for his sister, Kelly. Got to deliver it to her in person. Matthew Dillner, I just built one for him, gave it to him. It's a little custom car, but I love doing the details. I love putting a little bit of that, just a little bit of effort into it, just to make it personalized. That way, if somebody's looking at their model, they can always find something new, and they're going to go, "Oh, hey, that's pretty cool. I didn't notice that before." So I love putting those little tiny details into it. And I actually had a conversation with Matthew Dillner. There's a lot of people that love doing models and are big on Twitter that do them. I don't like comparing what I do to what they do. It's just like somebody painting a picture. Everything is subjective. You never want to compare yourself to somebody else. So I like doing my style, I like doing what makes me happy. And if it makes the person I give the model to happy, that's even better. That makes me happy when I see, a smile on their face.
Nice.
That's pretty awesome.
Nice. And, if you ever want to mail Lionel a letter, I guess it's not the thing nowadays. It's you want to send them an email or something, let them know how to make some good die cast, because your detail and your cars is much cooler. And, I'd wait a year for your car. I don't know about Lionel. So
I appreciate that, guys. That's pretty neat to hear that. Person always appreciate, it's nice to hear somebody appreciates what they do and the work they put into it. So that means a lot, guys. I appreciate that.
Well, wanted to know, how did you get involved in racing and becoming a racing fan?
Well, as I said, born and raised in Wisconsin, racing in my family is a way of life. My grandfather was started in drag racing when I was not even born yet. So when he was, in his teens and early 20s, he started drag racing. He got my father into drag racing and in NASCAR, and it just kind of trickled into me. My dad never forced anything onto us. He never said, "You will go watch races with me." It was always a bonding thing. So it was always something I wanted to do with him. I've been to more races than I can count. And it's just a way of life. In fact, my father and I still drag race to this day. So motorsports to me is next to modeling is my passion, just something I love watching. And it's not just being there, it's the smell of the race fuel. My buddies, I'm sure when they watch us will laugh. The first thing I do when we get to a race together is I just stop and I take a big breath in, and I just hold it and smell all the race gas and the burned rubber and everything that is involved in racing. Is just something that makes me happy.
Nice.
Awesome. You kind of sound a lot like my brother. He does something pretty similar every time he goes to a race. That first pace lap when they come around at 55 miles an hour is something that we always look forward to. You kind of catch that tail end breeze off of them once they clear you by a couple of car lengths, and you're like, man, that smells good. Like if they could bottle that up and put it in like a body spray, I'd buy it.
Well, I've joked with my dad. My dad's race car used to run methanol. So now, or alcohol, I'm sorry. So now we run race gas. And I kept bugging him along the way. I was like, "Dad, come on, we got to go to race gas." He goes, "You just want it for the smell." I was like, "Yeah, why else would I want race gas?" And it's just every time he starts a car, like you said, every time they're on the pace laps, you just have to stop, close your eyes, and just smell that race gas. There's just something about it. I wish I could make a candle or a car scent out of it and just, have it sitting there. And I'm sure all the race fans would just buy that up in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I can relate to the smells. That's actually something I brought up, I think, when we interviewed Corey, is that's something that I've always loved as a kid, is just the smells of, I don't know, the burnt rubber and the fuel. And just, and actually, so in 2020, I think I went to the Coke 400 out in Daytona, and they were selling tickets so cheap because of the pandemic that they just kind of brought in whoever they could. And I was able to get really high seats. Like I was 10 rows from the top off of kind of between start finish and turn one. And I was kind of disappointed because I mean, yeah, I could see the whole track and that was cool and all. I couldn't smell anything, and that really bummed me out. And I have another story is that when I guys, probably been 15 years now, but I did the Richard Petty driving experience back when Disneyland had a racetrack, and I went and did that, and they were selling used race tires from the Richard Petty driving experience for $5. So I bought 2 of them, and I made a tire out of it, or not a tire, a table out of it for like my back porch. But we drove home in my wife's car, and man, it was, and I think maybe 3 hours away from Orlando, and that was the best drive. And then we went home, and then we picked up pizza on the way home, and I had pizza and tires in the car, and that was the best smell in the world.
I can relate to that. When I was a kid in 1996, my dad took me to the Brickyard 400. I've been to, many races before that, but that was my first big track like that was, the Brickyard. And my favorite driver was the same as my dad's, was Dale Earnhardt. That was, I saw him pulling for him. So naturally, I just kind of went towards him. And when we were leaving the track for the day, Goodyear had a little tent set up where they were selling the practice tires. I begged my dad. I was like, Dad, I want a tire. Dad, I want a tire. Well, he finally gave in, and we walked over, and I told the guy, I'd like a tire. He goes, okay. Well, he handed me a Jeff Gordon tire. Well, naturally, I looked at my dad and I said, well, why does that say 24, Dad? He goes, oh, yeah, they gave you a Jeff Gordon tire. I'm like, well, can we change that? I want a Dale Earnhardt tire, Dad. So we finally got the Earnhardt tire. Long story short, when I was a kid, I had it hanging up in my bedroom, on my bedroom wall. My mom, every time she came in my room, she'd get so mad, and she hated coming in there because it smelled like rubber, like fresh Goodyear rubber. Still has all the little, rocks from the track and everything in there. But I loved it. That was something I loved, going in and walking into my room and smelling that, Goodyear rubber was perfection to me.
Yeah. You gotta imagine, their races out at the Bristol Dirt Race, just not the same. I wonder. I mean, I've never been to. I think I've been to one dirt race my whole life, and it was like with school buses, and I was 15 or something. I barely remember it. But I do wonder, are they missing out on that smell of burnt rubber? I mean, I guess they would still have the fuel as a NASCAR race, but So
that's a whole nother discipline. I've been to a few dirt track races, but there's just something about asphalt that's smell that rubber and everything. Yeah, I'm a fan of it.
Nice.
So you were saying that the 96 Brickyard was your first race. If memory serves me right, Dale Earnhardt got the win that day, right?
He won the year.
That was in 95.
Prior to that.
Yeah.
So I think, if I remember right, I think Jeff Gordon won the 96. That wasn't my first race. That was my first big track. But yeah, I still remember seeing his car coming down. I mean, unfortunately, at the Brickyard, even today, we sat on the front stretch. You can only see that little picture, the cars coming by you, and then they have screens. But unfortunately, you can only see your one little strip of track when they go by you. But I still remember it vividly to this day, seeing that black number 3 goes, screaming past me. And I was hooked.
Sure. That's
Nice.
awesome.
Nice. Mike, does your son, he's been getting pretty big into racing. Has he ever said anything about it? Like, have you ever asked him about the smells of a race?
No, I guess I haven't asked him about the smells and whatnot, but he likes it whenever I'll be nice and take his earmuffs off of his head and let him come by under green just one time, and he can like feel and hear the thunder pretty good, which is pretty awesome. But So, I don't know that he understands what the fuel smell is yet, but just to see that kid light up every time he sees the cars roll off a pit road, like there's no better feeling to me as a fan and as a father. That's NASCAR has been a sport that I've loved ever since I was a kid, and now that I'm able to share it with my son and seeing him enjoy it just as much, there's no better feeling in the world. It's pretty sweet. What about Sky? What does she think about it? Is it her cup of tea, do you think?
No, I mean, she hangs out. She enjoys the event, but she's definitely not she's not a true race fan. Yeah, not like your son where he's, he has that, he's excited. She just wants to be involved, but she's never once ever watched a race with me on TV. And then when we went to Daytona, she just is, ready to go 50 laps in, so. All right. So, Sean, have you ever been able to meet any race car drivers? You have any stories like that?
I've, if we're talking strictly NASCAR, there's several drivers I've met recently over the last, I'd say 5 years or so. As I said, I come from drag racing, and in drag racing, I've met more drivers than I can count, with that. NASCAR, unfortunately, it's harder to interact with the drivers in today's world with Twitter and, Instagram and whatnot. It's a lot easier. But me and my buddies go to Darlington every year. We camp in the infield every single year. And that's actually the first time I ran into and met Corey LaJoie. And from that moment, and it's been somebody that I was wanting to pull for, just his personality and the way he treats his fans and the way he interacts with people. I was a fan from the get-go. And, I was a fan, I still am a fan of Dale Jr., but when he left the sport of driving, when he left driving, it left that void. And I was trying to find a new driver. And when I met Corey LaJoie, it was just, hey, that's somebody that I want to follow. That's somebody that I want to interact with, because he's just so nice of a person. And the way he treats people, how could you not pull for somebody like that? You have so many people in the sport, other drivers in the sport, that are not as nice as he is or as other people are. And it's better to interact with people that genuinely want to talk to you and want to be around you, as opposed to, okay, I'm going to sign and then get out of my way. So.
Yeah. Nice. Mike, do you have any good stories of meeting some race car drivers?
No, so I met this long-haired flapjack that drives the 7 car. He's pretty cool. No, I think the first driver that I ever met actually was Tony Stewart. So me, my dad, we're both from the same town as Tony Stewart in Rushville, Indiana. And I think after his rookie season, he came back and he did like this toy drive for charity at Christmas time, and we all went and had a chili supper with him up at the fairgrounds, and that was pretty cool to meet a driver. My dad still got the Polaroid picture somewhere with me and Tony. That was pretty cool. I haven't got to meet as many as I'd like to. Got to kind of come close to him and whatnot, but no kind of interactions, if you will. Still really want to meet Jeff Gordon one day. I was kind of mad, just as a side note, when I was in Atlanta a couple of weeks ago. I was bent down helping my son retie his shoe, and when I looked up, Rick Hendrick had just walked past me, and I was so mad that I wasn't paying attention. That maybe I could have got a picture of him and told him, hey, big fan or just whatever. But that was really cool to see somebody like him come that close to. So we'll definitely see what happens. We'll keep showing up to races and keep making some noise, and maybe we'll add to the autograph collections. We'll see.
Yeah,
I'll tell you guys need to come to Darlington. Try and get an infield camping spot. Me and my buddies have a tailgating bar that we built, and we've been having drivers sign it. In the beginning, we call it the last car bar, because all the drivers that we would meet were always the last place finishing drivers. But it's so neat where we're at. Drivers just walk back and forth. You'll catch one. Harrison Burton was friendly enough to come over and sign the bar for us and talk for a few minutes. So Darlington infield is definitely the place to be if you want to meet, interact with drivers. And not just that, I mean, it's a fun racetrack to be at.
Nice.
Sure.
Nice. Yeah, we my highlight of meeting a race car driver, I mean, ironically, we're on the shoe show, but is meeting Corey LaJoie last year with Mike. We got to do the interview in the pits of Daytona, behind the wall a little bit. And man, that was just it was super cool. I think me and Mike were geeking out about it for a week. Just like, man, I can't believe we interviewed a race car driver. Like we didn't even think about the fact that now we're going to make a YouTube channel and everything else, and doors kind of kept opening up. But that was pretty cool. And I've been around. I've just watched NASCAR. I have a little bit of IndyCar. My hometown is St. Pete, so I've been St. Pete, Florida. I go to those races and watch IndyCar, and that's a pretty cool environment because you're just so close to the drivers. And if I ever want to meet Jimmy Johnson, who's my last favorite driver, that'll be the way to go once the COVID restrictions let up, because it's just, you can literally walk up to people working on these $1 million cars, and it's pretty fascinating. I do remember, however, it's kind of a downer story, but so I followed Jimmy back before he was anybody. He maybe won 1 or 2 races, but he was teammates with Jeff Gordon, who was my mom's driver. So I thought, well, we can be on the same team. And I like Lowe's. That was my first job. So I was like, yeah, I'll follow this guy. I didn't really know a ton about him. And turned out to be, Jimmy Johnson. And well, it probably was 05 or something. And we went to the Daytona. We're in Florida, so we go to the Daytona races a lot. And we went to the fan access area of the pits. And I remember standing at his window all day, watching them work on the 48 car and watching Chad and Jimmy talk to each other. And, they were working. And I mean, I had spent like 5 hours there. And I remember one time, and we were just standing there. I wasn't doing anything annoying, tapping on the glass, any of that. And I was just watching. I just was, I couldn't believe it. So one time Chad walks up to the window, goes below the window and grabs whatever tools or whatever they're doing, and then looks up at me and goes, and I was just like, I guess I'll leave now. Like, I was like, it kind of like crushed my soul. I was like, damn, like, and so that's a memory I have. I haven't really met a whole lot of drivers besides Corey LaJoie. I think I've met the Busch brothers through the Daytona pit windows. But most of the time when I try to meet somebody, it's somebody I'm a fan of. Not that I respect what all of them do, but yeah, so that's something that I'll never forget. It kind of bummed me out, Anyways,
good to have that kind of reaction.
Yeah, back to good stories though. So the reason why I brought you on, Sean, is the sheet metal behind you. You kind of Corey shared a cool little video of you and your son, and I thought that you could tell us about, anybody that hasn't seen it, tell us about your Scooby-Doo sheet metal.
Well, it was, what year was that? 2019 that he drove the Scooby-Doo car. My oldest child, my daughter, Elise, she's been to Kansas and a bunch of races with me. My middle son, Henry, he's been to quite a few, but my youngest son, Aiden, he'd never been to a race. Unfortunately, my wife wasn't able to go with us because she's a nurse. So she works, the crazy odd hours. And unfortunately, that weekend she was working. So I decided, hey, let's have, a daddy kid weekend, take them to a race, my son's first, NASCAR race. Why not go? Well, we drove up there. It's a few hours away from us here. We got up there, had a great time, had some, hot dogs and relaxed and started watching a race. And I asked my youngest son, hey, buddy, whose car are you going to watch today? Well, he had, he saw the Scooby-Doo car, and all of a sudden he goes, Dad, I like that one. I'm going to watch Scooby-Doo. Cool, buddy. Go ahead. Throughout the race, he was watching it, and I saw him a couple times holding his hand up like it was a steering wheel, doing this. And he had a water bottle that I got for him, and he's sitting here acting like it was a shifter, just having a grand old time. And I looked at him, I was like, hey, buddy, what you doing? He goes, I'm driving the Scooby-Doo car, Daddy. I'm like, oh, cool, bud. I decided to take my camera and take a picture of him, not thinking it was going to turn into anything. I thought it was a neat picture. Well, I went on Twitter and tagged Corey LaJoy saying, oh, he said he's driving the Scooby-Doo car. No idea it was going to blow up the way it did. So when Corey LaJoy got a hold of it, he, commented back that it was, that's the reason why he finished as good as he did. Thought that was really cool. Sorry, my dog is over here growling at the window. So I thought it was really cool that, he saw the picture and he commented on it. From there, again, like I said, it snowballed. All of a sudden, Corey LaJoy tweeted it, and then NASCAR tweeted it, and then NBC and everybody tweeted it as well. When Corey LaJoy got back on Twitter later after the race, he was giving away pieces of the car. Well, I sent him a message and said, hey, if there's any way Aiden can get a little piece of that car, it would mean the world to him. He sent a message back pretty much saying, hey, I'll take care of him. Don't worry about it. So when the package came, it was a big, big square box. I was like, oh, what the heck did he send? Had Aiden, my youngest, open up the box, pull it out, and just the look on his face was gold. I as a father, there are a few moments that you can make your children just so happy. And for Corey LaJoy to make my son as happy as he did just by a small token, small gesture of giving him a piece of that Scooby-Doo car meant the world, and he was young. I think he was only 4 at the time, 3 or 4 at the time. So he wasn't that old. He still didn't comprehend what was happening. But his biggest worry after getting the piece of the car, and it's funny, I ran into Corey LaJoy in November at PRI up in Indy. And I told him this. I said, my son, after you gave him that piece, even to this day, is still worried that you don't have a car. He goes, well, Dad, if he gave me part of the car, he's not going to have a car to drive. I was like, it's okay, buddy. He has another car to drive. It's fine. And even Corey LaJoy made the comment that, yeah, I got plenty of cars in the background. It's all right. So that was pretty cool. As I said, as a dad, there's only so many moments you can make your children just over the moon happy. And to this day, I took it down off his wall. You can see it right in the background there. To this day, hangs on his wall, and it's his prized possession. He loves going up to it and reading what Corey LaJoy wrote to him, and just loves having it. So I got him a little Scooby-Doo diecast, so he likes going in the living room and driving his little Scooby-Doo car around and saying, oh, Dad, I have a piece of the car up in my room. I'm like, yeah, you do, buddy. And I won't stop saying thank you to Corey LaJoy for that. That is why he is the driver I pull for. That is why he is such a good human being, because he does those small little gestures that just mean the most to people, that not a lot of drivers will do.
For sure. Yeah. It's Corey, it's never easy, following a low end team. We're all used to following Dale Earnhardt or Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon's. But that's exactly why, at least I stick around is, man, he's just a cool dude. And like, I feel proud to be a part of, his team and not just, it's really easy for me to just go jump and like somebody because they have that $1 million equipment. And, but it's a different experience being a fan of somebody that you genuinely care about, as opposed to, well, he's pretty cool and his race car looks cool. So, yeah. It's definitely interesting. So, but cool, man. Well, we appreciate you coming to hang out with us. We just wanted to hear you have a very unique story, and I can't imagine your son. Are you guys going to any races this year?
I'm taking my wife to Darlington here in a few weeks to go to that one. I'd like to take the kids back to Martinsville now that, the pandemic is starting to settle down and things are opening back up. So I'd like to take my kids back to Martinsville this year. There's a couple other ones I would like to get to. We just have to see how my racing schedule with me and my dad works out, and with my wife's with the nursing job that she has. But I can't thank you guys enough for you guys to reach out. That's pretty cool. That means a lot, like I said, for you guys to take an interest in this story. And it's pretty cool of you guys. And I must say, I've watched the 3 episodes that you guys have put up, and you guys are doing an awesome job. I've enjoyed all 3 episodes. Obviously, the one with Corey was really cool. Hear from him and the interaction that you guys had with him. So it means a lot that you guys wanted a little of me on your show to give my little side of the story. So appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
It's definitely one of the biggest grand slam stories, if you will. That's just I have my own personal experience with Corey and what he did with my son and the time that he spent with him, the first time we met. And so to hear somebody else that's become a fan for the same reasons, you know what I mean? I pair with you so much, just as a race fan and as a father. There is nothing better than seeing your kid light up over a race car, and for a driver to take notice of that. And appreciation. There's just no way that you don't like, you know what I mean? So I can't thank you enough for coming on, man. That is such an awesome, incredible story. And who knows, man, maybe Aiden can get to the track here soon again. Help him drive the car one more time. Maybe we can park that victory lane.
Hey, I'm okay with that, and I'm sure he'd be really okay with that too. We'd have to give him another die cast, and maybe get him a shirt, and have him enjoy his time at the race.
All right.
Who knows? His dad knows somebody that makes models or something in their spare time.
Unfortunately, I actually made a little side story to that. I made Corey LaJoy a Scooby-Doo car. Who was it? Robert Presley drove the Scooby-Doo car back in the day. Unfortunately, they don't make models or decals for his car that he drove, the Scooby-Doo car. So me and my buddies got together and thought, hey, what could we do in return for him? And they were like, hey, make him the Scooby-Doo car of Robert Presley. So I built him the Scooby-Doo car and, brought it up to the Joy of Seating and gave it to him. So you guys, hey, if you guys want a model, by all means, let me know. I can do a custom model for you guys. Put the Shoe Show logo on the hood and send it to you guys for that. All you got to do is say, please. I'm more than willing to do it. Like I said, I make models for my friends, so I consider you guys good friends now. If you want one, by all means, just let me know. I'll get one made for y'all.
Well, I might have to take you up on that, but all right, well, Sean, well, man, thank you for hanging out with us. Hopefully we get to hang out and have a beer or two someday soon. And otherwise, stay safe, man. We just thank you for hanging out on the Shoe Show.
Appreciate it, guys. I hope you all have a wonderful day and take care.
Thank you, brother.
Bye.
Again, Sean, thank you so much for coming on the Shoe Show. Man, it's so cool to hear stories like that. And it's just humbling to hear this stuff. Most of the time, this stuff that Corey does, he doesn't like to get it out and broadcast it because he just wants to make a difference and make people happy and smile without actually it's not about image. It's not about a PR thing, nothing like that. He just does it because he's just a great dude. So, but me knowing all this, I want people to know because, man, it's so cool. And the more the merrier, and Team Super Shoe, and you guys need to be coming and hanging out with us, cheering him on, and letting Spire know that we back them. So next up, we got our buddy Alex Morgan. He's going to be the Team Super Shoes member of the month. And he is kind of a similar story, and just cool to meet him. And without further ado, let's talk to Alex Morgan.
My name is Alex Morgan, and I'm going to talk a little bit about why my family and I are fans of Corey LaJoie. I first reached out to Corey in early 2020 about finding a diecast of the Scooby car that he ran at Martinsville the previous year for my little boy. I was a fan of Scooby growing up, and my little boy liked Scooby, so I thought it would be a cool little car to have. We didn't really have diecasts much, and I never really bought any, so I didn't know about where about to get them or anything like that. Well, to my surprise, Corey responded through Instagram and provided me with a few places to try and whatnot, actually helped me find a car. And I was like, that's pretty cool. You don't normally get a response out of guys, NASCAR guys or anything like that. I started paying a little bit more attention to Corey's career and his racing. Well, a few months later, in March, we ended up in the hospital having my little girl. She was 5 weeks early, and we had talked about going to the Atlanta race that year. Well, that wasn't going to happen anyway with her coming early. Well, we actually sat in the hospital and watched NASCAR and all the other sports and the world basically kind of start shutting down. I was like, this is kind of crazy. Well, later on, I think it was later that day, the dust had settled and we had a little bit of quiet time, and I was scrolling through Instagram and I saw Corey post that they had their son Levi. I was like, that's pretty cool, and congratulated him and told him we had our daughter too, and he thanked me and congratulated us back. And I remember telling my wife, I was like, he's a pretty cool guy to do something, just to respond to our comments and whatnot. And I was like, I think he's a really good guy. Later that year, in July, my son wanted a NASCAR birthday party for his 3rd. So we had bought some decorations and whatnot and kind of ran out of ideas. Well, I was like, I'll message Corey, see if he has any ideas. I'd messaged him a few times between earlier and then, and he might have some ideas. Well, I told him what we were doing, and he responded to me and told me that he was going to send the bumper you see behind me to my little boy for his birthday party. It's the bumper off of his mask car that he ran at Martinsville that year. And I was just blown away. I was like, is he really going to do that? And I was just kind of in shock. And I don't know how many times I thanked him, and it came, and we made a video of me giving my son the bumper and sent it to Corey, and he posted it, and it was pretty neat. Well, so when I got back into NASCAR, Chase kind of got me back into NASCAR. I was a Chase Elliott fan, and in the video, I was wearing a Chase shirt. And I remember looking at the comments, seeing people talk about it after Corey posted it. And I saw a comment about the shirt I was wearing. I was like, well, that's not a big deal. I said, people can have pull from multiple drivers, and I didn't really understand it. Well, it was another year or so went on. We pulled more and more for Corey, and earlier this year, Corey and Ross Chastain and Eric Jones and Justin Haley, Josh Bilicki, and a few others came to a kind of a minor league hockey game about an hour from us. I was like, you know what? That's pretty cool. I said, we'll get tickets and go finally get to meet Corey. And I said, that'd be really cool. So we took a die cast of the car that the bumper came off of, and my son got to meet Corey along with us, and Corey signed it, and we told him who we were, and he thought that was so cool. You want to come over here, buddy? So this is Baylor, and I got a die cast for him of the mask car, And as you can see, they didn't get the peat and pod placement completely correct on the diecast versus what the real bumper was. It's actually on the opposite side, kind of a little bit lower, but that's okay. But yeah, Corey signed it for him. And, you know, we were just talking about, and we got a picture with him, and we were just talking about, you know, how awesome of a guy he was. Well, this year we got to go to our first ever NASCAR race and went to the Atlanta Super Speedway race. And we got there, and I had done a little bit of research right before we got there. And I was like, oh, they're doing a meet and greet with Corey. I said, we'll get to see him again. And so they had a little thing set up at the restaurant there, and Corey came and spoke, and we had our Corey shirts on, my wife and I, and we listened to him talk and whatnot, and went and talked to him a little bit. And of course, he remembered us, and we were talking, and I was like, you know, that's for a NASCAR driver to remember his fans like that, to, you know, just, you can tell how much his fans mean to him. And, you know, that really got me thinking. I've pulled for Chase Elliott. I like Ryan Blaney, and I like Corey, but the entire time we were at that Atlanta race, all my wife and I were doing was looking, see where Corey is on the track. And I watched him fly through the air in front of us when he got spun around, and I was like, oh crap, the diffuser caught. And I was like, I don't know how his car's going to be. And we got to see his first top 5 of his career, and that was really, really cool. And one thing that was really cool was walking around, and people were asking us about our Corey hats and shirts. I actually got this at the Atlanta race. I'd been seeing Corey wear it, and I was like, I really want one of those, and I couldn't find one online, and finally found one at the hauler at the Atlanta race. But, you know, it was pretty neat walking around. You'd see a 7 hat somewhere or a 7 shirt, and, you know, Corey fans are all pretty good people and friendly, and it's just I'm proud to be a fan of him. And we'll talk a little bit about this car, actually, because this one was the Xerox throwback car is probably one of our favorites, if I can get it to focus. My great uncle was a massive fan of Alan Kulwicki, and he's actually talked about, you know, when Kulwicki died, how just devastated he was. And well, we were actually talking the other day, and after Corey sent him Baylor the bumper, my great uncle became a fan of Corey too. And, you know, with him working out of Kulwicki's old shop, he was, you know, we were talking about how just awesome that was. And he's a big Corey fan now too, which I think is pretty cool. And it was really cool to see the Kulwicki throwbacks. And I actually bought him one to hang up in his shop, which he thought was neat. But anyway, you know, we're fans of Corey because Corey appreciates his fans. Corey is a good racer. It's good to see him getting in better equipment as his career progresses. Like I said, when we were at Atlanta, all we did was watch for Corey, you know, seeing where he was, and luckily he was in a bright car, so it was easy to spot. But, you know, we hope to see Corey get a win this year. Like I say, he's a great driver. He's an awesome guy. And anytime I reach out to him, he'll respond. And all right, buddy. You can look. You know what that is?
I know. My birthday party.
It's for your birthday party?
Yeah.
It's part of Corey LaJoy's race car. Yeah, you can have it. He sent it to you for your birthday. You like it?
Oh, I see that.
Yeah. Do you like it?
Yeah.
Can you tell him thank you?
you.
Can you tell Corey LaJoy thank you?
Good.
Will you look at Mama and tell her?
Alex, thank you again for hanging out with us on the Shoe Show. It's super cool to hear your story and to see your son's experience of getting the sheet metal. And man, that's just super cool what Corey LaJoy does for his fans. And I'm almost out of whiskey, so you know what that means. It's almost the end of the show. Actually, it is the end of the show. And by the way, if you guys want a Shoe Show glass, hit me up on Facebook, Joshua Sky. Hook you guys up, and I thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. Please, if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. It's going to help us out. We're trying to get to 100 subscribers so that we can have an official URL, like we're big business, you know. So, but guys, thank you so much for hanging out, and just until next time, y'all be safe. God bless, and go Corey.